Hello and welcome to episode 273 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
Yes, the Wolf 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Twitter or X at 77 Club Podcast on there. And can you please subscribe to this YouTube channel? I never really asked that, so let's ask that this time. Cheers.
Would make sense. Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello.
Gracing us with his presence. Right, well, Harry, tough times continue for Gary O'Neill after yet another winless game. That was against Brighton. We're now 18th in the Premier League, knocked out of the Carabao Cup. So let's have a look at Newcastle at home first. You actually did call the team. So when it came out, you were all smiles saying, yeah, I was spot on with that, which was along the lines of Johnson in goal. Got Aït-Nouri, Dawson, Mosquera, Semedo, João Gomez, Andre Lemina, Bellegarde, Cunha, and Strand Larsen up front. I mean, where do you start with this? I thought it was a pretty open first half and obviously took the lead after about 30 odd minutes.
Yeah, just on the team, it was a very confusing team because people thought it was 4-3-3. Some people thought it was a 4-2-3-1. And then when the game started, Bellegarde was out on the left. Cunha was floating everywhere. Lemina was meant to be in a midfield three, but he was floating out to the right. So it was take your pick. We were all over the place in terms of where the players were in positions they were playing in. But yeah, first half an hour, I mean, I thought it was fairly even, but in hindsight, looking at highlights and things like that, I think Newcastle probably edged it a bit up until we scored that fantastic goal, which was a really good goal. Great dummy from João Gomez. Obviously, they had the Gordon chance, didn't they? Probably about 10 or 15 minutes before that when he hit the post. But I think going in 1-0 up at half time was, I think we deserved it. We played well towards the end of the first half, and I thought we were going to go on to win the game at that point. I thought we were looking really good. Andre was playing out his skin in midfield, but unfortunately, as we know, the second half is usually the story of Wolves. It kind of fell apart again.
What did you think, Dan? I mean, it was a pretty cute dummy, wasn't it, from João Gomez? Good finish from Lemina, first goal since February.
Yeah, we rode our luck a little bit at times, but we got done by one good goal and one bit of bad luck. But we had our opportunities to put the game away, didn't take them. We're going back to the old sort of winning's a habit, and currently we're well out of it. So
losing's a habit.
A habit that we're saying get used to. Harry, just on some reasons to be cheerful. Andre, I saw that you put some stat out. Completed all 40 of his passes against Newcastle, most on record without misplacing one by a player marking their first Premier League start.
Yeah, he was. I mean, when he went off, that's when it started to fall apart. Probably when Bellegarde went off and Hwang come on as well. We just lost our shape. We lost that bit of steel. And again, I mean, Gary O'Neill's going to be spoke about a lot on this podcast today, I'm sure. And I think his substitutions against Newcastle were not very good. We were well on our way to win that game. Obviously, Larsen hit the post, didn't he, at 1-0, which could have put us 2-0 up. That was unlucky. He had that header. But for me, bringing Bellegarde off and bringing Hwang on was a head scratcher. Obviously, Andre going off. And the big one was Semedo did have to go off. He was hobbling around, looked knackered. But he brings Doherty on, and he was so poor for the Barnes goal. Just let him cut inside so easily. Great finish. But in saying that, stroke of fortune for their goal, and that put their tails up, didn't it? The big deflection off Dawson's head. But I think you've got to point the finger at Gary O'Neill for his substitutions, and also probably point your finger at some of the players and their mentality, because as we've just joked about, we are starting to become comfortable with losing. As the title says, 2 wins in 17 in all competitions. You've got to count the end of last season, because you just have, haven't you? That's the form we're in, and we've got to try and stop the rot somewhere, and I'm not too sure where it's going to come.
Dan, we're talking about Gary O'Neill substitutions, but I mean, you probably got to look at Eddie Howe's as well, because looking at Harvey Barnes, Sandra Tonali, and Joe Willock as well coming on for Isaac, Longstaff, and Joe Linton as well. We saw similarities between the Newcastle game and probably the Chelsea game in that the away manager has seen something, made the change, and made it early, and it's made a massive difference because we were under the cosh pretty much from when the whistle went in that second half.
Yeah. Harvey Barnes got a thing against Wolves. I think he scored.
Yes.
Leicester, did he score a couple against us as well?
Ex-Albion and as well.
Yep. It also proves the point, just to go away from substitutions, but it proves the strength and depth that Newcastle have got to bring on a player that goes and hits one from 25, 30 yards and sticks it in the top corner. We haven't got that.
Harry, I turned to you, didn't I, at half time, and as soon as I saw Harvey Barnes was coming on, just to echo what Dan's just said, I was like, right, okay, well, he's definitely going to score against us, and that proved to be the point. I mean, I thought Craig Dawson had a brilliant game, apart from obviously what happened with sort of just glancing off his head, to be fair, and as soon as it sort of took that deflection, I just went, oh no, that's going straight in the top corner, and it did.
Yeah, for me. So you mentioned substitutions. I disagree a little bit. I think we have got players that we can bring on to make a difference now. I think our bench is strong. We had Forbes there, who eventually did come on and look quite sharp. We had Rodrigo Gomez to bring on, but the fact he picked Hwang was just the wrong move for me. And up until then, we looked okay. I thought Yerson, Mosquera and Dawson, they looked pretty solid on the day in a 4. I thought they looked pretty good. Semedo, he had the bit of the run around at first, admittedly, but we changed it a little bit and he looked a bit more solid. Eight Nori. But yeah, I think, again, I'm just pointing back at the substitutions from Gary O'Neill. I think our strength in depth, which showed in the cup game, we've got players. I mean, Guedes is looking good. As I mentioned, Rodrigo Gomez, for some reasons, not getting a sniff. Forbes is looking decent. So I think we have got the squad to make the correct substitutions now, but bringing Hwang on was just a really bad move, and obviously taking Andre off and bringing Doherty on as well.
I brought Hwang on at 1-0 to Wolves, obviously, and then it was just a little bit, Doherty comes on, Doyle comes on. 3 minutes later, Dan, you're looking at 2-1, and I think it was just one of those days where it just wouldn't go in, a bit like the Brighton game, which obviously we're going to get onto and stuff, but a couple of players hitting the post as well in there. Cunha going close as well.
Yeah. It's just purely habitual and a bit of luck that's got to go our way eventually. I mean, Larson, great effort, hit the post, but a slightly more skillful player might have done something there. I don't know. We're picking at very small bits.
Well, let's have a look at some of the comments. Let's see what everyone else is thinking out there. Wolfsfee says, Fosun out, Gary O'Neill out, and his back 4. What we're doing here is sleepwalking to the Championship. Robert says, what other Premier League side would give a manager this amount of time? The Milkman, saw him with my mother. Gary out, he's reclaimed his PE teacher name. We'll let Dan answer that one. Sutton says, even all, I think O'Neill will be gone after Brighton away on the 26th of October. I'd be pleasantly surprised if we've got anything more than 1 point more by then. Nice bloke, but being nice wins nothing. Cameron says, who could we get, though, as a replacement? Serious question. I don't think he should be got rid of before they find someone else. I'll just hang on to that query, because I see that a lot going around, and I don't know if people are just trying to wind people up on social media by, saying Gary O'Neill out straight after losing to Brighton. Harry, I don't know if you saw any of the comments and stuff, but on Cameron's point there, I mean, aside from you're looking at probably David Moyes, I don't know who else you would even be looking to bring in. And for the record, I don't think he should be sacked.
Yeah, Big Sam. I'm joking. No, I don't. Look, I saw a quote. I saw that you're doing the rounds just before we come on. The board are not even looking at last season. So this 2 wins in 17, which is that title, they're just discarding that and just looking at this season as its own. And Gary O'Neill said himself that we didn't have the transfer window that he wanted. We didn't get all the players in. He wanted to play his system. We missed out on that O'Shea, didn't we? For one example, a quick centre half. So I think we should go back to the back 5. He tried a back 4 at the beginning of last season. It didn't work. We went to the back 5. And if you remember, around February time last year, we had one of the best stats for defending our own box with our back 5. We were solid in spells last year. And we need it again now. 14 goals in 6 games in all competitions conceded. It's just relegation form, isn't it? He's got to swallow his pride a bit, stop this tactic of wanting to pass it out from the back, side to side, and give it to the keeper. Go back to a back 5, hit teams on the counter, and do what we know, do what this squad knows, and we'll start picking up results. I'd rather go for a back 5 now because it's getting silly. And the silly mistakes we keep making, and we keep conceding goals from outside the box from our own mistakes, and we keep giving our fans kittens every time we're passing it around the back. So swallow your pride, O'Neill, and go to a back 5. That's what I think should happen. I think he should keep his job. I do agree with the board in that sense that you can't really count towards the end of last season because we had so many injuries, especially up front, and we've had a really tough start on paper. But he is annoying me with his comments as well. He keeps coming out and playing on the tough start. card. He keeps bringing it up. It's like giving himself excuses. I don't want him to keep doing that.
Is he not a very good excuse, though? I mean, because it is on paper, I think Opta Joe did a sort of breakdown of all the teams start, and it's statistically the toughest start that you could have. I mean, obviously, we didn't have, like say, didn't have a great finish to the Premier League season last year, pretty much from when Neto got injured after the Albion game. Dan, just on Cameron's point, do you think time is running out for O'Neill? Do you think it really is that bad? I mean, you look at the fixtures, and they make for great reading. To be fair, obviously we'll talk about Villa and stuff, but Villa away, Liverpool at home, Brentford away, Man City at home, and Brighton away. That's the next 5.
Yeah, I mean, in the world that's professional football, if we go into October and get a long way through October without another point or 3, he is going to be in trouble. But he has had a horrendous start. It's more the nature of it. Like Forest away, Forest had their chances to win it. We had a couple of chances, but we didn't look like beating them, really, if you're honest. And then other than that, we've played well in spells. I mean, the Newcastle game, when we came out for the second half, I thought we were superb for 15 minutes. We were the better side, but a good team goes and gets the second goal. We didn't. We conceded one and then rolled over. And I think if that's going to be the attitude, he isn't going to have long left. So it's a bit of a tricky one. I mean, I've looked at the fixtures. I don't think we're going to get that many points. And then our November is 4 winnable games. So
But potentially, I suppose.
But the problem is, if you get to that November and we're in the form we're in, it don't matter if we're playing Southampton at home. Their confidence is going to be on the floor, isn't it? We've only got like 2 points at that stage. So that's why I think we needed to beat Newcastle. Like you say, Bayless, I think we should have gone on to win that game. And then we go back to what we just said. You've got to cut shit house it sometimes. When you're 1-0 up, you just got to shut up shop for a bit, keep it tight and just get the 3 points. But we don't seem to be able to do that at the moment, which is annoying.
George says, when am I coming on the podcast? Ask your Uncle Jack. Craig says, evening lads, Gary O'Neill will turn it around, I'm sure of it. Had a hard start, as mentioned, have to judge on the results we'll pick up when this tough run ends. James says, all right, boys, why are we so wank most of the time? Second half of the Brighton game, we actually looked all right, just can't take our chances. I should probably read them before I read them out. I suppose we should probably move on to the Brighton game, Harry. And I think it would be a pretty different outlook if things had been a little bit different last night. Obviously, a horrible start to the game. Lots of changes. I think it's 10 changes in total. Sarr coming in for Johnston. You've got Doherty, Santi Bueno, Pedro Lima, João Gomez, Tommy Doyle, Rodrigo Gomez, Hwang, Pablo Sarabia, Guedes. I mean, the one that stuck out for me was obviously Alfie Pond coming into the side. Just firstly, was he like a duck to water, or is he out of his depth?
Yeah, he had lily pads on his head, didn't he? No, that's a terrible joke. But I actually watched him play. He made his debut, didn't he, last year against Blackpool in the League Cup? And he was all right that day. And although it was a bit of a disastrous first half, I actually think he looked okay, Alfie Pond. And I thought Santi Bueno did as well. It was just out of character. João Gomez was a bit all over the place. Obviously, Jose Sarr, he must have had about 8 cans of Fosters on the bus on the way down, because I don't know what he was doing. And yeah, like I think he should have saved the first 2 for me. Gomez got caught out from a poor pass, actually, from Alfie Pond, even though I've been praising him. Doherty was absolutely horrendous. I don't know what was wrong with him. Like, he put one pass back to Sarr, and I just didn't know what the hell he was doing. It was way too hard. But just on the team, looking at it, though, I thought, oh, this is quite exciting. Guedes, don't know about Hwang. I mean, I don't really get excited anymore when I see him on the starting sheet. But I wanted Forbes to start, and he didn't, which is a bit annoying. But what I'm trying to get at is, like I said earlier when we talked about the Newcastle game, I think we have got quite good strength in depth. I mean, Tommy Doyle, I'm his biggest fan. I absolutely love him. I thought it was a shake-up between him and Guedes for man of the match from our point of view last night, and he took his goal really well at the end. But yeah, we were just asleep. And then until Guedes woke us up with that one shot, and then obviously he got his goal just before half-time, I thought we were going to lose 3 or 4. And it did improve a lot second half. But yeah, for me, if we didn't fall asleep for that first half hour and Jose Sarr actually could use his hands, I think we would have gone through on the night.
What do you think of Jose Sarr's performance, Dan? I mean, it's a pretty big fall from grace, it seems, from being, undisputed, number one, mostly because we haven't got a great number two on the bench, to flapping at things, like Harry said, distribution all over the place as well.
Yeah, I'm guessing that something's happened here where they've tried to offload him in the summer and something's fell through and it didn't press. Why would you get in Sam Johnston from Palace and keep Dan Bentley? So I don't know. It's why he hasn't gone out on loan. I have no idea. But
I suppose from our point of view, though, you want two strong keepers fighting for the place, don't you? I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't. Every other player in that squad is fighting for their place. And I know the goalkeeper is a little bit different because obviously game management doesn't come into play with goalkeepers as it does with outfield players. But still, you need competition. You need to be kept on your toes.
Yeah, totally. And I've always stuck up for Jose Sarr. I think he saves more goals than he flaps at, but the ratio is going back against him now. So it's getting more difficult, isn't it? I still can't get away from this sort of when you're down, you're really down and things don't seem to go your way. In these next 4, which we've got some really hard games in there, as Harry's already said, we've just got a shithouse one. Just get a win. If we can just fight our way to a win in one game, it doesn't matter if we played 9 at the back and have one shot on target and score and it goes in off someone's arse.
Yeah.
Doesn't
even have to be a Wolves player's ass.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, do you think the outlook would be a little bit different? I want to go back to the comment section because it's kicking off in there. Deborah says this is looking bleak. 4 at the back needs ditching, or Gary Neal will be a gone before bonfire night. Neil says Gary Neal out. Martin has made a comment about my top, which does look like a Russian sailor's outfit. But that's between me and the missus, Martin. Nothing to do with you. Tim says, hi all. Everyone's saying Gary Neal needs to go. I think it's Jeff Shee who's to blame and should go. His message about Wolves might not be the team for you was an absolute disgrace. Stephen says, I think we have to start asking the question about O'Neill has the armoury to turn the team around. Personally, I don't think so. Harry, just on Tim's point there about Jeff Shee, I mean, fair play to the fans that made their way down to Brighton yesterday. It was a tough ask, I think, getting people to go down there. But like Tim says, when you're making comments like Wolves isn't for you, is this what happens?
Yeah, and also the ticket prices going up is starting to have an effect on the attendances, isn't it? I mean, the last Chelsea went to general sale, Newcastle went to general sale. I'm not too sure what's going on with the Liverpool one, but there's empty seats everywhere. The Newcastle fans were taking the piss out of us after the game, singing empty seats. So that's not a good look, is it? The buzz, we've lost that buzz around the place that we used to having at Molineux especially the Nuno years. But in terms of O'Neill, I mean, I could see why people want him gone, but I think it's a slight overreaction, as I've mentioned. But I do think he needs to swallow his pride, as I've already said, and change the formation. Else, in a few weeks, 4 or 5 games time, I think I will start being like the comments and be like, get Gary O'Neill out. Jeff Shee didn't get the full backing he wanted. O'Neill, he didn't. We got some good players in, don't get me wrong, but you could tell he wanted his own. There was a few we missed out on. He said that himself. So that's why it confuses me why he's trying to play this system he wants to play, because he's admitted himself he hasn't got the personnel. It just doesn't make sense. And with confidence low, you just got to do what you can. But it's just, I mean, look at the comments. The atmosphere is just rotten, isn't it, everywhere? And it's just we knew the start was going to be difficult, but it's gone pretty much as bad as it could. I mean, we needed to beat either Forest or Newcastle just to kickstart our season, because even last year, if you think, we struggled at the start, lost to Man U, lost to Brighton 4-1, but then we shithoused to 1-0 away at Everton, and then a few weeks later we shithoused. I say shithouse, we played well, we beat Man City, and that gave us that momentum then to have that good run, and then we ended up in a deep FA Cup run and pushing for Europe at one stage. So we need something like that to happen again, because the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, and then it will be panic stations when we get to November time.
And Dan, I don't know if you agree with me on this, is that we're just obviously missing Neto. I mean, he's a huge asset and he was a brilliant player for us, and not really replacing him. Although Forbes looks like he is incredibly quick, which is probably something we've been missing. But I just think if we had a strike, if Strand Larsen was quicker or was as quick as an average footballer, he seems so slow. but I think it makes such a difference because there were a couple of times in the Newcastle game and also in the Brighton game as well. And I'm probably going to hold Guedes to the same standard here. Whereas if they were just a little bit fucking quicker, we'd probably be through on goal a lot more. And obviously, I mean, we nearly scored at the beginning of the second half against Brighton, didn't we? It just wouldn't go in yesterday. It's one of those where you could be playing till Christmas and not score.
I don't know. It's not his game. Like, he's a big, tall lad, big, tall, strong lad. They're not going to be quick. Like, Sam's 6'3" or 4" and runs like he's in treacle. So
that's true.
2 assists though, Sam. Larson. He set up obviously. He set up Lamina and he set up. I know it was a pointless goal, but he set up Tommy Daw, didn't he, at the end as well? But I know what you mean. I think Guedes looks fantastic. By the way, I would start Guedes in the Premier League.
Do you know what? That's a really good point. The last comment that's come through from 123 North Street.
Go on, read it out.
After the Coventry game, have we improved? No. That was one of the low points I've had for a long time. And since that day...
That's the run, Bayliss.
We have been
That's terrible. 2 wins. Since that game, it's 2 wins in 17 in all competitions. And one was against Luton at the end of last year when they were already down and we were safe. And Burnley the other day, in the League Cup, the last round.
Against
that's our only 2 wins. Yeah. So that's why it is getting a bit... Yes, you've got to take into consideration that we had a lot of injuries towards the end of last year and we were on the beach, but it ain't good reading, isn't it, when you look at the stats? It's not good reading.
It's incredible. I know that we're talking about this sort of at this stage of the season, but I mean, I was quite positive after the Newcastle game. I mean, Harry, we went obviously and did your video afterwards, and I was saying, I think it's just one of those games. Your dad messaged back and said, we can keep playing well, but we need to start winning. Brighton was, I think, a mirror of that.
Yeah, especially early second half. Like you said, we could have been playing till Christmas. Rodrigo Gomez goes through straight away. That one where, like, their defender fell and then their other defender cleared it off the line. Guedes had a sitter, didn't he, that he put just wide. I don't know. It was just, like you say, when you're going through a bit of a bad spell as well, when things ain't going your way, on another game, that one of those go in, don't they? And it's 2-2, and we probably go on to win it the way we were playing. But sod's law, they go up the other end, and Sarr parries it into their path, and the game's over. It's just, and we even brought the stars on, didn't we? We brought Larson on, we brought Cunha on, Semedo come on. Bit annoyed that he took Pedro Lima off because I thought Pedro Lima.
I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, so I was quite shocked at that, but. It's one of them, innit? But it was, for me, the likes of Sarr, Wang, Sarabia, senior players were dog shit awful at Brighton. They just looked like they didn't want to be there. And for players at that senior level, they should be the shining stars, and they just wasn't. Lima was, Guedes was, Tommy Doyle ran the show, 22 years of age. And then you got these blokes who were probably on double his wage, and they were just shit.
Let's move on to Villa. Obviously, they're fresh and back from the Wankdorf Stadium, where they beat Young Boys. What incredible set of words!
I never knew that was a stadium, though.
Yeah. Harry, a 3-0 win for them in midweek. A loss in the Carabao Cup for us, obviously. We've just been talking about it. I mean, it like I say, it doesn't get any easier. I was looking at some of the stats behind this, and the Opta supercomputer expects a Villa victory 57% out of 10,000 times. So Wolves have won just one
Only
of their last
57%. What
14
supercomputer is it?
Fucking generous computer.
As you've said, drawn 3, lost 10 of the last 14, winless in 7. Ollie Watkins has been involved in 7 goals in his last 6 top-flight home matches for Villa. But it's not all bad news. We've only lost 1 of our last 5 away league games against Villa, drawing 2, losing 2. But that defeat did come in this exact fixture last term, as you'll remember. And Villa have only managed back-to-back Premier League victories at home against Wolves in their first 2 such encounters, which is in 2003, 2004. Dan, are you of the opinion that the form book goes out the window when you play in a derby because our form book is horrible?
Bloody hope so. No, to be perfectly honest, I watched them play Young Boys, and then watched.
Beg your pardon.
Glad this is live. I watched them play Young Boys and they pissed all over them. So,
Oh, God.
It's not any better, is it?
Was it football you're watching, yeah?
Do you always cope well with live broadcast?
Professionalism here at the football club.
Yes. A pistol over Young Boys, go on.
Yeah. And I think we're in for exactly the same treatment. If we play 4 at the back, we're in big trouble.
Harry, they did give Young Boys one hell of a thrashing, didn't they? Do you? Oh dear. What do you reckon with this one? I mean, obviously he's going to make some changes. Do you think it's going to be fairly similar to the game against Newcastle? Do you think there's anyone knocking on the door? I think, even before the Newcastle game, we were sort of talking about Tommy Doyle may be fighting for a place, certainly, and I don't think he did himself any problems against Brighton. So what changes, if any? I'm guessing Johnston will come back in for Sarr.
Yeah, I think Guedes deserves a shout. He's been brilliant in the 2 League Cup appearances, 3 goals in 2 appearances in the League Cup. Forbes looks sharp as well, to be fair. Forbes looks sharp, but I don't know. I don't think we'll see much changes from Newcastle because, let's be honest, until he made all the substitutions second half, we were pretty good. So Andre are staying there. Lamina and Gomez will be the 3, which is harsh on Tommy Doyle because Tommy Doyle's been brilliant in the League Cup as well in his appearances. It'd be interesting to see if he starts Bellegarde again or he might start Guedes. He might change the formation. I think he might go to a 5. I really do. And it's a massive game for Gary O'Neill because if we go to Villa, our local rivals, and get absolutely spanked, it's just not going to be good for him. And Everton went 2-0 up there. So they've shown vulnerabilities. I know they ended up winning 3-2, but Everton could have easily got a draw on the day. I watched that game and Calvert-Lewin at the bar at the end. So that performance, I didn't watch them piss all over Young Boys, unfortunately, but I did watch the Everton one. So off that evidence, if we can play like we did in the first half, well, for the middle parts against Newcastle and the first half against Chelsea and even times against Arsenal, if we can play like that throughout the 90 minutes, we can beat Villa. We can. I mean, they've played in the week, their strongest team. So I think I think we can do it if we.
That is 100% getting clipped up by whatever Villa channels will come across it, Harry. Kishan says, is this carry on 2020 style? Apologies, but carry on up the Wankdorf is probably something that could catch on. Dan, what do you think? I mean, would you make any changes? Would you mirror what Harry's saying? Are you going to call for 5 at the back?
Yeah, I am actually. I think 5 at the back is very much needed. We were more solid playing that way. I mean, we've got a couple of liabilities at the back, but I think that's the best we can do. Also, Cameron, your pun was superb.
I missed that one. Okay, very good. We'll keep that between ourselves. Right. Do you know what? I would do something. If it's 5 at the back, I think I'd play Forbes, Harry, because I've been really impressed with him so far, and he is so quick. I know he's young.
Wing back, you mean?
I think he's got some potential there. I mean, what do you reckon? I think we both liked him when he came on, and I thought he did decent. And was he tracking back when I think he was through on goal for Brighton and just absolutely steamed him?
Quick. I don't know if he's much. I don't know what his defensive game's like. I mean, we've got a small sample size, but if we are 5 at the back, it will be Aït-Nouri left wing back. Don't know what's going on with Toti Gomez, but I thought Santi Bueno played well, so I wouldn't mind Santi Bueno, Dawson, and Yersa Mosquera being the 3, and Semedo right wing back. But I don't know what he's going to do. If he sticks with the 4, it's a very brave move. Because if he does go 5 at the back and we still lose, he'll get a little bit less slack off the fans, unless he makes some awful subs. But he might go the same formation as Newcastle with a 3 in midfield. It's really hard to guess at the moment because it's all over the shop a bit. And
Harry, I think the problem here is that Gary O'Neill doesn't know what he's going to do.
That's the worst part, isn't it? Think back to under Nuno when we had that run, didn't we, of starting the same team like 9 games in a row, and like it was like a stat we broke. That's what you want, innit? We knew exactly what we were getting. We knew how we were going to play. We knew which player was going to play there and which player was going to come in. When you're like that, you're in a groove, aren't you? And we're not in a groove at the moment. O'Neill's had all pre-season, but he seemed more prepared last year when he had no pre-season. Like you say, he's all over the shop.
I know it's a little bit different to back in the day under Mick McCarthy because it was a different time. I think it was like the February of the season rather than, September. But Dan, we sacked him. Obviously, didn't really have a plan. But the run of form was similar to what it was now. And I think what I'd compare it to is obviously off the back of a 5-1 defeat to Albion, he gets the sack. I think if we lose that game by fewer than 4 goals, he doesn't. So does Harry's point about getting spanked against your rivals and maybe them edging it is the difference between him sort of staying on and then facing Liverpool at home?
Yeah, well, I think lessons learnt and all that will end up with a Terry Connor type appointment, and then we'll be doomed because the club won't have prepared for it. I mean, all they're doing at the moment is counting their cash, and that's all they've been doing for the last 2 years. So sacking a manager, having to pay him out, and then having to get someone else in on a contract, I just don't think they'll do it purely from a money perspective.
But yeah, I mean, you echo that. Well, Harry, I mean, a 4-year deal in the summer. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of cash if you're getting rid of the backroom stuff as well.
Andy DeWolf, he's sacked if we lose.
No,
I don't think so. I mean, if we lost 5-0 or something like Sam was just alluding to, I don't think he will, because they understand we've had a tough start to the season. It's not, if it carries on, he won't have too long left. I mean, I'll give it a month or so, and then I'm with you, Andy DeWolf. But they've said, they've come out. It's like they give him a bit of a vote of confidence, and it's saying, we know you've had a tough start to the season. We don't care what the form was at the end of last year. So tough times. But if we go and beat Villa 2-1 Saturday, this comment section next week will be, oh my God, is Gary O'Neill going to be England manager? You know what I mean? It just switches so quick, doesn't it? It does. Mm-hmm. If we had string of 3 results together, he'd be the Messiah. We'd be going up to Molineux and Bowen and kissing his feet again. So, let's see how it goes.
Just on the point of the 4-year deals, Neil saying, why 4-year deals? And it's a good point, isn't it, Dan? Because even a contract extension, better money, maybe add a couple of years, because really, I mean, the life of a football manager outside of Pep or a Klopp or, someone that's been there years, it isn't very long at all. Outside the top 6, for example.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm also reading the comments at the same time because this is
kicking off, isn't it?
Absolutely kicking off. I don't know. The 4-year deal thing is ludicrous, especially in our position and where the club are and what the owners seem to be doing. But I wouldn't personally sack him. I sort of have the idea of go to Christmas. It's a bit shit or bust attitude to it, but we won't be prepared to get anyone else in. We aren't going to be able to do any transfers to January anyway. So we've got to work with the team we've got. I think O'Neill's going to have a look soon and work out his tactics to try and win a game rather than play pretty football out from the back like Pep. Am
I the only one that doesn't like it? I mean, I hate it. I can't stand it. I mean, when I seeing it happen,
gives me anxiety every time we pass the ball.
That doesn't help. It doesn't help that we've got players that can't do it, or certainly can't do it to the standard that needs to be.
It's the modern game, isn't it? And like against Brighton, that was why we went 1-0 down, because they were pissing about at the back, wasn't it? And there was moments against Newcastle second half. I don't get it, but maybe we're just a bit out of touch, even though we're in our 30s. But get it up there, innit? Dawson still does it. He's just boots it, Dawson.
Just going back to the comments, like a lot of people saying, if it goes till Christmas, we'll get relegated. I can tell you, if we sacked him Sunday and we haven't got a plan, the manager ready to go, we will be relegated. So it's a double-edged sword. Like,
it kills the team as well, doesn't it? It kills morale. I don't think he's nothing like lost the dressing room, has he?
Yeah, I think the players still like him. They do. I mean, look, when Bruno Lage left, I know it was a bit later on, when it around November time, but he'd lost the dressing room completely when he put Neves centre half away at West Ham. Bit of a different situation, although it's quite similar in the fact that we had a really bad end to the previous season under Bruno Lage. They'd had a poor start, but as you've just said, Sam, I completely agree. He hasn't lost the players. I think all the players still respect him and still like what he does in training, and probably liking the way they're trying to get them to play. But I think because of the tough fixtures we've had, it's probably not the right time, is it really? Because it's still raw. We just don't want to be left behind. We don't want to be left behind. We needed to get a few results early for us to keep trying all this ticky-tacky passing and hybrid systems, 4-2-3-1-4. Half the time, I don't know what's going on. It's like the Christmas pudding off Mike Bassett and at the Christmas tree formation sometimes.
I'm seeing lots of words of Christmas in the comments. So Paul says we're lucky if we have 2 points come Christmas. So what do you reckon, Dan? Do you think what will have more points, a Triangle or Wolves at Christmas?
Wolves.
Very doom and gloom.
November November, we've got a better run of games. I haven't gone as far as December to just remember them off the top of my head, but we've got to play every team twice, and we're panicking after a handful and a cup loss away with some changes. It's look, the track record has been awful, and it can't keep going on forever. But I think we've just got to get through the tough bit. There's been good spells. There's been a little bit of promising football. We just need that killer instinct. Someone needs to click, be it Hwang, Cunha, or Strand Larsen. No, I'm just saying in general.
No, I agree. Yeah,
the players up top need to start firing, and if a couple of players get the ball rolling and get a couple of goals, it just starts going back in your favour a bit.
I mean, it's looking like November's going to be a huge month, and it could really make all the difference. Palace at home, Southampton at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home. Those are the 4 games, Harry.
Yeah, I'm sorry to completely ignore your question, Sam, but this in the comments, Deborah's put, we've got a 7-foot striker and they don't put any balls in the air. They just try and pass out from the back. I completely agree. That is a great point. I mean, we saw against Newcastle that one ball in. Good header. I think Lamina was the one who crossed it. I completely agree with that. I want to see us get down the wings, and we look quite narrow in this new system until Forbes come on against Newcastle. It was very centralised the way we was attacking. Everything's going through the middle. So maybe use the wingers a bit more effectively. But yeah, Deborah, great comment. When you've got a big beanstalk up front like that, you've got to be whipping some more crosses in.
I agree, but it doesn't help when our players are getting caught offside of a fucking corner like it was for Newcastle.
Oh, that was weird, wasn't it?
I just don't get some of the rules and some of the officiating at times, and just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
How many strikers do we need to realise strikers are not the issue? They're feeding off scraps, says Lewis.
It seems very unnecessary, doesn't it? Sometimes they'll do about 15 passes around the back and that way they could easily just go direct and just pass it forward. Like it's just a confidence overkill. Maybe it could be a confidence thing, but it could also be a tactics thing. It just seems like a bit of overkill. Where you sometimes you just got to whack it forward quick, ain't you? Just get it out.
If you're making 7 passes when you could get to the same place with 1 or 2,
yeah, I mean it's pointless.
Yeah. James says, does anyone think Strand Larsen is an upgrade on Sasha other than the injuries?
I think he's a bit more mobile than Sasha.
He's got 2 knees.
That's a good point.
Sasha is a bit more Peter Crouchy, isn't he? Whereas I think Strand Larsen looks a bit better. He's probably a little bit quicker than Sasha was and a little bit better with his feet. But I don't know. Look, if he bangs in a couple at Villa, we won't be saying this. That's the thing, because everyone's so down in the dumps. Everything's negative. It's hard to... I mean, I can't believe, Sam, how negative the comment section is today.
I know. And they're actually all pretty much all on the same
optimistic
side.
people. Is there anyone in the comments who could back O'Neill? Because I haven't seen one person
I think that
saying
the trend,
they want to keep him.
If you did one of those word cloud things, it'd just be Christmas, gone, and Graham Potter.
And
just before we get
want to doom and gloom ourselves even more.
I know. Well, just before we go to Bayliss for some betting odds, we'll just do a quick score prediction from Harry.
Well, I'm not going to go for 4-1 Wolves because it's just stupid in it to go for that. But I think we're going to be up for it. I think O'Neill knows how important the game is, so I'm going to be optimistic, not like the comments. I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Dan?
3-1 Villa.
3-1 Villa. I mean, we ship goals, it seems, at the moment. I mean, a minimum of 2, maximum of 6 so far. So, I mean, it's going to probably go with you, Dan, probably around the 3-1 Villa mark. But let's see how much value there is in some other results.
Not a lot. Obviously, there's midweek Champions League, European football. It means that the Premier League stuff gets delayed a little bit. But I found a few bits and bobs. Starting with the negative.
6-0, I'm saying. Oh, Jesus.
John McGinn scored first, Villa 3-1, 80-1. Same price as Strand Larsen first goal, Wolves 2-1 is 80-1.
Oh, no, that's doable.
This shows the madness of it, though. Watkins to score first, Villa 4-0, 66-1.
Oh, Christ, yeah, that's short.
They're big favourites then, yeah.
Yeah. And then we're 4-1 just to win the game. And then perfect day out. Ollie Watkins to score first, but Wolves to win 3-2. 230-1.
Ooh.
And then just for a little bit of interest, O'Neill isn't the favourite manager to get sacked. It's obviously Sean Dyche, who is incredibly short odds, 5-2. You can then pick up O'Neill or Ange Postula, can't pronounce his name, both of them are 6-1.
Where's Russell Martin on that list? Because I'd have thought he would be
8. Same as, and Ten Hag is 8 as well.
Wow. Okay. Obviously for different reasons. Thank you very much for that. And just before we go, actually, there's a couple of things. I wanted to read some interesting facts that don't sound real, but they are. But I'll save that to the end to sort of cheer everyone up, it seems, because it's close to meltdown in the comments section. Let's go to Manchester City midfielder Rodri, who said yesterday, Tuesday, that players were close to taking strike action over their increased workload. The Spain midfielder played 63 competitive games for club and country last season and featured for 6,107 minutes between July 2023 and July 2024, including pre-season friendlies. He spoke out a day after Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson said players were not being listened to and that no one was close to a solution to fixture congestion. So a recent report came out and said player welfare red line was a maximum of between 50 and 60 matches per season, depending on a player's age. I mean, just Rodri, come and play for Wolves, right? The League Cup already. I doubt we'll be in the FA Cup for very long as well. 38 games in a season. It's like it's like working part-time, isn't it? But Bayliss, what do you reckon about this? Because striking is a little bit weird, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, they won't do it. That's
weird for football, I should say.
Daft. I mean, multi-millionaires, best medical teams, best trainers, best physios, best sports scientists, best nutritionists. People cook for you. You get a lovely leather couch to sit on your bus or your aeroplane.
Yep.
But there's too much football. I can't do it.
Yeah,
Fuck off.
Get on with it. Get on with it. Like, you want to play football, you want to be at the top, you've got to play all them games. As you said, Sam, with Wolves, we ain't going to worry about it. And Jose Sarr went on strike last night, didn't he, against Brighton? So he's already done his bit. But yeah, it always comes up, done it this every year. Klopp was a big one when he moaning about it. That's why they're going to have big squads and rotate. Although the look of this new Champions League, they put out the table, didn't they, on social media? It's like 36 teams. It's just, I've lost interest in the Champions League till it gets to the deeper stages. They're just pissing around with it too much, but I'm surprised he's come out with that, to be fair. He's a great player, though, isn't he? What a player to watch. But
well, yeah, I think he's probably the only reason that we beat Man City last season.
When he went there,
yeah. I mean, Dan, it's a bit difficult, as I said in sort of the build-up to asking the original question, is that normally when you go on strike, you're probably foregoing your pay. I don't think any Premier League football is going to forego his wages, is he?
I don't know. They'll have something in their contract that if they refuse to play, you don't get paid.
But then it would be not paying because you're not realistically going to have Man City sacking Rodri because he's worth £100 million, and they're not going to sack anybody, is it? So it's a little bit of like a non-story in that sense, because they're not going to not take their £1 million a month or whatever they're on, and they're not going to get sacked.
If you're contracted to do your job and there's no reason that you can't do it other than you don't want to, then I'm sure they don't have to pay you.
But it would be, if you're saying you were being overworked, or it's beyond reasonable.
Well, this is why people fake injuries in international breaks, isn't it? There's so many players that pretend they've got a knock and just don't go away with England for these crappy little National League games and that because of the congestion of fixtures. But this is a story that comes up every year, I feel like, and it's not going to change. If you're at Rodri's level, you play for your international team and you play for Man City, you're just going to be playing that many games. As simple as that. That's why he's there. You just got no two ways about it. That's just the way it's got to be.
They've pretty got a point, though, because if you look at the start of the season that Haaland has had and Mo Salah as well, Bayliss, obviously they properly hit the ground running. Haaland probably slightly more than Salah, but they've had the summer off because Norway didn't qualify for the Euros, and obviously Salah's Egyptian.
Yeah, but
could be coincidence.
If you want to be at the top level, then asked to miss a League Cup game away at Preston on a Tuesday. Surely they're these people they employ to tell the players whether they're fit or not, or when an injury might happen. They're world-class professionals. If they are fatigued, they'll be told by someone.
Yep. Because they'll be in the red zone or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. But just on congestion and that, like, we only had the League Cup, didn't we? Do you think it's still overkill making 10 changes, even for a team like Wolves? I know we've got like a tough game with Villa coming up, but
No,
I think it's really poor. I think there's a real opportunity to sort of try and
have a cup run.
Yeah, have a cup run, but also get the players playing together where it doesn't matter so much and the scrutiny isn't as much.
He did mention, didn't he, that Dawson literally physically couldn't play Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I think he said Yerson calves were pulling up, but the others, I don't know. They were all on the bench, weren't they? It's one of them, but the League Cup is literally you get the prize money's non-existent, is it? And like we've said before, it's 100 million minimum in the Premier League, so they know where their bread's buttered. But yeah, quite a bit of a weird random debate to bring up, really. But it don't concern Wolves, does it? Because our fixture pile up is non-existent now.
I'm going to finish off with 4 facts that may surprise you. Darren Bent has more Premier League goals than Didier Drogba. If Bayern Munich conceded every shot on target, they would have still won the 2013-14 Bundesliga title. Throughout Eden Hazard's 7 years at Chelsea, the club never lost a home league match where he scored, and Gareth Bale's first trophyless season after leaving Tottenham was the season he went back on loan to Tottenham. There you go. A nice one to finish off then. But we'll wrap up, and if you're going to Villa Park at the weekend, best of luck. Do enjoy yourselves, but we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
I'm going to have to go for a lie down now. That comment section is the most depressing I've ever seen it in 7 years of doing this podcast. So cheers everyone for being here, but also not cheers because I am depressed. Bye, everyone.
Yes, and we're here normally every Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. And it's goodbye from Dan Bayliss.
Yeah, I'm off for a walk down the Thames with my pet concrete block.
Excellent, Frank. No, it's a goodbye from